So I walk up to the attic, and as soon as I poke my head up there, this weird, scary baby is sitting in the center of the attic, and it slowly turns its head at me, and it has no eyes. And then I go, nope, shut the door, and then I go right back down the steps.
Oh my god, that's terrifying.
You care to elaborate at all on this, or
Alright, I'll just start it. Okay, so the dream started to where me and Kendra had to go to her mom and dad's because I guess they were having like a little like party thing. We get there and her mom is not her mom, but her dad's her dad, but her mom's not her mom. Her mom is the did you guys ever watch Good Luck Charlie on Disney Channel?
Yeah.
Okay, her mom is that mom. And
What?
yeah.
fucking shit are you on?
Damage.
So
Good
then
shit, apparently. I mean,
and then we're in their house and we're all like watching TV and stuff, and there's all these random fucking kids running around the place, and I'm like, there was no little kid birthday party we had to go to. We just had to come over here just to hang out. And then her mom looks at me and goes, and I'm like, what? And she's like, well, you guys came in this house, you and Kendra, and you tracked mud all throughout the house. And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. I mean, I feel really bad. Where's the Swiffer at? I'll clean it up. And she's like, well, it's somewhere in the house. So that as I'm looking for it, I decide, oh, maybe it's up in the attic. They don't have a fucking attic, by the way. So I walk up to the attic, and as soon as I poke my head up there, this weird, scary baby is sitting in the center of the attic, and it slowly turns its head at me, and it has no eyes. And then I go, nope, shut the door, and then I go right back down the steps.
oh my god, that's terrifying.
And then after that, I was like, I can't find your fucking Swiffer. And she goes, yeah, and you guys didn't eat any of the roast beef I made. And then and then Sarah over there, I'm like, who the fuck is Sarah? I look over and there's this new girl just sitting there. I'm like, who the fuck are you? And she's like, I'm Kendra's cousin. And I'm like, I don't remember her having a cousin named Sarah. And then her mom's like, yeah, she still owes me like $80 for all the sliders that I made. I'm like, what fucking sliders? I look over and the kitchen's changing as we're talking. And there's this giant like case that's got roast beef in it. It's got sliders, and then it's also got a little deli slide table for like all the little like crackers and meat and cheese. And I'm like, where'd all this fucking food come from? And then she goes, and I'm pissed that you and Kendra didn't eat any of my roast beef. And I'm like, you already know Kendra hates food, so I don't know what to tell you. So then I was like, I guess I'll have some roast beef. And I just took it and ripped it in half, and it was just in my hand. I'm just eating roast beef as I'm walking around the house, still looking for her Swiffer because I feel bad that I'm still tracking mud throughout the house. Like it's just a trail of mud. And then after that, Kendra starts packing up like cake and brownies, and I'm like, where do brownies come from? I want some fucking brownies. And then she's like, oh, well, I made them. Like, when the fuck did you make brownies and bring them here? And then she's like, you don't remember anything? You go, no, I don't remember anything. And then she wraps it all up, and then I'm like, okay, so I start helping her pack stuff up too. And then she goes, I'm gonna go back to the car, and I'm like, all right. So then I say goodbye to everybody, and then I walk out the door, and there's a giant staircase that just goes down. And I'm like, that's not right. Just staring at it. So I shut the door, turned back inside the house, looked around, and everyone was there. And I'm like, all right. So then I open the door, and there's a giant staircase again. I'm like, okay, I guess I'm taking the stairs. So then I start going down the stairs, and then it brings me to a campground. And I'm like, why the fuck am I in a campground? I wanted to go to the car, which is 5 feet away from the house. And then I'm like, and I'm wearing my Boy Scout uniform, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And then,
Yes.
so then I'm like, I'm gonna just turn around and go back up the stairs. I go, fuck this place. I started singing in my dream too. And I go up the stairs, and then I open, and I'm like, oh, well, here's like a house. I'll just go up the stairs. It's probably their house. I open up, and I have to open up like this hatch door, like this rope. It's got a rope on it. I'm like, this looks really old. It's got moss growing on it. I open it up, and then there's the baby again, sitting in the center of the room, and it slowly turns, and it has another dead baby next to it, and it has no eyes and stares at me with a smile this time. So then I go, nope, shut the door, and then I start walking away.
My
I start
favorite part
walking
is when you shut the door.
I start walking away, and then I go back down the steps, and then I start walking. I'm like, oh well, I gotta go find Kendra. And I'm walking through this campground. There's like campers all over the place, Boy Scouts, everything. I look over. Next thing I know, Hunter's also standing over there. I'm like, what in the fuck?
These things, bud.
Hunter was never in Boy Scouts with me. And then so he's not wearing a uniform. He's just wearing a T-shirt because he's not in Boy Scouts. I never remembered him in Boy Scouts.
Just for clarification, like just a t-shirt, no underwear or pants.
He had on T-shirt, jeans, and shoes.
Alright.
No underwear.
No underwear though. Anyways, so
Then.
he's standing over there, and he's like, "Brad,
Like
come
that
over here."
clarification.
And I'm like, "Oh, okay." So I walk over there, and I'm standing there. And next thing you know, our friend Corbin from work's there, and then our friend Javen is there, and I haven't seen Javen in like 4 years. And I'm like, well, this is weird. And we're looking around, and next thing you know, they're like, oh, okay, so, all right, guys, now we're going to have the big camp race. And I'm like, what fucking race? And like, we're going to have the big camp race, and we're all going to do it on utility vehicles, and you get javelins. And I go, I'm going to fuck someone up. Just immediately, it's the first thing that came to my mind. I got so fucking amped. And they said we had to go to this meeting room, and we're all sitting down in this meeting room. And there's this one girl there. She sits on my lap, and I'm like, no, get off. Like, you're not. And then her boyfriend's right next to me, and he goes, oh, no, dude, it's fine. You see, you're the cover. I'm like, what the fuck do you mean I'm the cover? And he starts fingering her on top of me. I go, no, get off.
What
Get
the
off.
fuck?
So then I woke up. I was like, I looked around, and I'm just like, looking around the place, and I see Kendra, and I see Buddy. He's laying next to me, and I'm like, fucker, stuck into the bed. And then I'm looking around. I go, okay, it's fine. I didn't even look at my phone. I had no idea what time it was. So I went right back to sleep, and I'm back in the same dream. The guy and the girl are gone, and I'm sitting right next to my friend Javen, and he's commented on my shoes. He's like, those shoes look like Converse, but they're not Converse. And I'm like, okay, I don't care. They're shoes. I'm wearing them out here because I'm wearing them out here. And he's like, well, I got boots on because, I was in the military. And I'm like, I don't give a fuck what you're in. I'm going to fuck you up with a javelin. And then he was like, oh, okay, whatever. So then we start walking. And I'm like, I don't know my way around this place. Can you show me? He's like, oh, yeah, we're going to go down this way. We start going down this way, and there's a random toilet. And he sits down and he's like, wait, I got to take a shit. And I'm like, no, I'm not waiting on that. So I'm just going to keep following the group. I followed the group, and we get down and we see these utility vehicles. And they're like, okay, everybody, you got to get in your utility vehicle, and you got to put this parasail in the middle of it. And I'm like, why are we putting a parasail in the middle of a utility vehicle? And they're like, oh, because they're going to fly. And I'm like, what do you mean they're going to fly? And they're like, they're going to be floating. You're going to have javelins, and you're all going to race, and then you're all going to also fight. And I'm like, I'm going to fuck someone up. So I'm like, let's do this. So I'm trying to get this parasail in it. And I guess it took me a couple hours to do it because it was like dark out by the time I got done. And then the ATV like thing, like the utility vehicle had like a GPS tracking that just drove for you, and it did it for me, but it was retarded and kept wanting to drive through cornfields and almost smash into trees and stuff. So I kept having to steer it away from everything. And then there's a giant combine behind me, that's just blaring its horn, and it's got lights on me, and it's like, and the dude's screaming, "I'm gonna run you over!" And I'm sitting there going, like, stomping on the gas, like, why won't this thing go any fucking faster? And I'm like, I thought this thing could fucking fly. And then it never ended up flying. And then right before I got run over by the combine, I woke up, and then Hunter called me.
Oh my god.
You are so fucking awkward, bud.